Hi all, I'll soon be demonstrating how to rename files in Family Historian 7. It wouldn't be right to launch you into that without at least encouraging you to think about a robust and repeatable file naming system. I'm going to demonstrate two systems. There's loads more online. Do a lot of reading before you ever decide what to choose for your system. You want something that's repeatable, you want something that's easily remembered, and you want something that stands the test of time. This video is going to be followed by a demonstration of how I associate burials in a common cemetery plot where the family connection is still to be discovered. The renaming and keywords video will follow that. If you want to get email notifications when those videos are released, then click the subscribe button down below followed by the bell. Once you do that, you'll get a ping from YouTube as soon as I publish a new video. So let's get started on this presentation. If you're collecting digital files for genealogy or home use, you'll want to decide on a personal naming format you can remember and repeat time after time. It doesn't matter if you have a genealogy files, legal files, documents, or vacation photographs. You'll want to find those files again on your computer, so you need to know what those files contain. Do your own research. There's a lot of online reference about file naming, and it's an important discipline to get right. Most genealogy-based channels on YouTube have also touched on this subject, and the methods used are wide and varied. So read, watch, and think a lot before deciding on what suits you best. The challenge is simple. Name your files in a format you can easily remember and repeat time after time, where the file name contains the key information required to help you find, sort, and group your data. Any system needs to be repeatable, and if your naming system has some logic, you will easily remember it and be able to repeat it time after time with accuracy. I will share my experience over the years, but my system works for me and my needs, although it was agreed between 3 researchers. You need to consider all the needs, the limitations and constraints, and decide on what works best for you. Gary Gauthier is an ex-Rootsmagic user now using Family Historian, and the brief bio on screen is of his own hand. Gary has been around genealogy considerably longer than I have, and used several programs on his journey that I have little or no experience of. He has travelled through Personal Ancestral File, The Master Genealogist, several Rootsmagic versions, and now uses Family Historian 7 as his main program, wishing they had discovered it earlier. Gary has kindly prepared an 11-page document for me to share with you, and you're going to find that in the shared Dropbox folder for this video. His system and needs differ from mine, and he explains that in the document. The link to the shared Dropbox folder is in the description for this video. Here's an image file that's come off my cell phone. Looks complicated, but really it's just digital. My phone's a Google Pixel, and the PXL is just an indication of that branding. That's followed by the date in reverse format of year, month, day, which is in line with the ISO 8601 standard. Following another underscore, we have the time in 24-hour format using hours, minutes, and seconds. I've read a lot of opinion on the last 3 numbers, but I believe it's just milliseconds. It's not just a sequence. That's pretty unique, right down to 1,000th of a second. If you have GPS enabled on your cell phone, then you know exactly where that photograph was taken. But it's not very human friendly to read. I scan all home business, insurance, receipts and letters, not only to save the paper mound, but also to allow me to quickly pull up those documents again if I need to. Genealogy file naming is much the same with a few specific quirks, but let me demonstrate some basics of any system. A file should have at the very minimum a date, a keyword or code, and some type of brief description. Here I have the date in ISO 8601 format, insurance as a keyword, and home renewal quote as the brief description. Might look boring, but that combination of data allows me to quickly search out a document and sort in date order. A 4-letter keyword is usually sufficient for any naming system, so I truncate insurance to the first 4 letters, and the file name ends up looking something like this, except for these spaces. Spaces should be avoided in file names, so use separators like hyphen or underscore or a combination of both. More on that later. I prefer the hyphen, but you may prefer the underscore or double underscore. This is how my home filing system names end up looking after I scan them in. Your vacation photographs may well end up looking something like this. Everything is there: date, country, location, and sequence. This is not a good file name. Yes, it's very informative, but it's 110 characters long and doesn't fit into any defined data blocks. There are some simple rules and considerations when naming files. This is an adoption of the KISS acronym, which suits my purpose. Keep it short and simple. I've used a comma as a separator in my early file names, and that may well cause a problem with some server systems, so avoid the use and use an underscore or hyphen instead. You will notice that the round brackets are parentheses and the square brackets are not on that list of exclusions, and that's good. You'll notice that the hyphen and underscore are also not on that list. You will notice that blank spaces are a no-no on that list, and I mentioned that earlier. That gives us some useful characters to use in building our file names. Here's another little piece of file name rule summary, again lifted from the web. The file name length should not be any longer than 255 characters in total. This file name is already 110 characters long and lacks any structure. Once you add your file path into the count, that character count has now become 255 characters long, dangerously long. I've seen many much deeper nest arrangements and directories being used by some users, and the total length then becomes a problem. I'll say this one more time: keep it short and simple. You don't need to be over-disciplined. There really is plenty of file length to play with. I just looked at one of my longest total file paths, and it's 145 characters in total length. You'll see the file path in red and the file name below. You can also see the file name has no spaces. It contains the name of the head of household and the given name of his wife, and therefore the partnership. It contains the year of the census return and also the district of the census return. I can search my file system for Armiger, 1841. I can search for Charlotte, Norfolk. The possibilities are many. I mentioned tags earlier for home files, and at the end of that file name, you'll see that I have brackets, CENS close brackets. That actually is a valid GEDCOM tag. Whether your file is a birth, baptism, death, burial, census, school record, there's a GEDCOM file, so why reinvent the wheel? I'll show you a table on these later. File names should have meaning, and that's exactly what we should strive to achieve. Importantly, we're going to name our files in a simple and robotic system of our own design. That system should be simple, easily remembered, and therefore easily repeated. The minimum requirement for me is name, date, place, and type. Those are the key file components. If you start to overcomplicate things, then you will have difficulty remembering your own system. Let me share with you my personal journey into file naming when I began collecting documents. Like many, I started with no real system and without thought for the long term. Really, it didn't matter. I linked up my files and I could usually find the files I wanted, or at least saw some clues in the file name. Working alone, no one tells me what to do, so I do as I please, right? Well, no. I met two other researchers of a common name back in 2001. We all got very excited and started exchanging data. The files were going around the world at speed, day and night. However, what we were doing was causing ourselves a lot of work by triplicating most of those files. We had to stop and think. Here's the extract from that 2001 email when the brakes were put on. Yes, 22 years ago. Thankfully, we all had a type of structure to our file naming, although we didn't share the same common system. Also, thankfully, one of the three had a programming background and could automate a solution. We worked and agreed a naming system. It wasn't terribly different from what we were using, but our file names would now be exactly the same in a line. Over the months to come, we were able to reconcile and build a comprehensive document collection, all without duplication. We all had the same files on our computer and all the names were the same. Back in 2001, this is the basis of the file naming system we agreed and adopted. Not long after that collaboration, I hit on a what do I do for baptisms? I was already using the brackets B for birth, so started using the brackets BAP for baptism files. But I would soon hit a few new challenges. I needed a better tagging system, but one already existed, and it's used in every genealogy program, and its name is GEDCOM. If you've watched any of my Excel to GEDCOM videos, you'll know that the exchange standard for genealogy programs is GEDCOM. GEDCOM is basically a text file and uses a series of tags to identify data. A selection of these are in the table on screen now, and these are mostly 4-letter tags. Not being one for reinventing the wheel, this was the perfect tagging option for me into the future. The bottom right tags here are non-standard GEDCOM tags, and you will see the tags are longer. I'm going to adjust these to something smaller using the first 4 letters with the exception of DNA. So here they are adjusted and what I now use as tags on image files. Here's my example from earlier with a census example added, and this naming system is basically what I use today. You may want to sort differently in your filing system, so arrange the important components to suit your needs. Providing the name, date, tag are entered, you can search on any combination of these. You'll notice that the birth, date and marriage examples do not have a place component. That was an oversight of mine in the early days, and all new entries do have a place component. You will notice a 3-letter entry for month rather than numeric. This was agreed between us to overcome the possibility of date confusion when sharing files between UK and USA. The tags highlighted blue are the tags I most commonly use in conjunction with my image files. Your image collection and requirements may well be different. Before I sign off, I will suggest again that you read online and watch other videos on the subject. I have outlined the rules you need to follow and problems you need to avoid. I have shared my system, and Gary Gauthier has supplied a document detailing his thinking and system. Consider everything. Think long, think hard, and agree a system for yourself. Keep it short, keep it simple. You will stand a better chance of remembering your system and faithfully repeating that system into the future. Thanks for watching. The next planned video is on how I link burials in a cemetery plot where I do not know the family connection. After that, a video on adding keywords to media files and renaming files in Family Historian 7. If you want to get an email notification when those videos are published, then click the subscribe button down below, followed by the bell. I intend to add this presentation in PDF format to the Dropbox support material, so check out the link in the video description. If you got something from the video, I would appreciate clicking the thumbs up to show your appreciation. If you're new to the channel and you're interested in this practical series of videos, then do check out the previous offerings. Once the series is complete, I'll put them in a playlist so they can be followed in order. Take care, and once again, thanks for watching.